Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. Sunday the 19th of April 2020. Right, it's first start time, I think. However, hot on the heels of the video that I've just published early this morning, where I've already had some very helpful comments back, then there's a couple of things that one we'll try and address now, but two we'll need to address in the future. So the first thing that I hadn't appreciated and kindly pointed out by Jim is that the petrol pipes should route inside the air chamber rubber to the carb, and so the banjo should be a 55 degree, not there's actually a 150 there, Jim, not 180. So basically with a 55, which is this one, you've got one pipe with this one, which is the joining pipe to the other carb, and this one sticks out inwards so that the pipe loops inwards of the rubber. So, and then up to the union, and the bend in the union should be pointing inwards, not outwards, as I've got it. So effectively this sits on the bottom of the carb like so, and then this pipe goes on the inside, and that's much neater. That makes much more sense. So as you can see, I've got one, but I haven't got two. I've only got one. I'll have a route around later, so we won't be able to undertake that job, pretty simple job, prior to first start, so we'll just leave it as is for now and see if we can get a running on that. That's not going to cause any issues as is, but it'll be nice to get it right, and it makes an awful lot of sense. I didn't know. As I said before, I've not owned an oiling frame twin before. The Lightning I had, my first British bike on the road in my youth, was a 650 Lightning, but it was a 68 pre-oiling frame. Right, the other suggestions from Howard, thanks Howard, is, let's just get rid of that before I lose it, is with respect to this oil week that we've got on the timing cover. He suggested that maybe one or two of the screws aren't quite the right length and maybe a little too long, and therefore bottoming out effectively. And also another suggestion is maybe to gently torque up an Allen screw in lieu of a Phillips. Bit dangerous, I know, but I think the first thing we'll do is check screw lengths. I think that's a great idea, Howard, so thanks for that, and easy enough to do. So what we'll do is remove a couple of the outer screws down there, and then we'll put a piece of wire down the thread just to see how long it is, and then that'll give us a good idea as to whether or not the screw is bottoming out. So let's do that first. As you can see, there is a little bit of film of oil in the bottom of that tray that I've left overnight, so it is still coming out of there. So we'll have a go at that first, that job, and then we'll start checking the bike over. So with respect to first start, so you can see I've got the Heath Robinson Enterprises tyres already set up. What I'm going to do is remove the spark plugs again, but this time we'll turn the engine over with the rollers, spark plugs out, just to check we've got spark on both sides. And then I'm going to check the motor turns over with the spark plugs in on compression, because this thing will have quite a bit of compression. It's 9.5 to 1, and even in top gear I've just got a funny feeling these rollers are going to struggle turning the engine over. And then once we've done that, I've already checked that the clutch works all right, because obviously when it starts to fire I'm going to have to be pretty sharp on the clutch. Otherwise, if the rear tyre grips the rollers and the straps accidentally let go, then the bike will be off of its own accord into the front of my wife's car, which ain't going to be clever. So let's get on with those few bits and pieces. First thing is to see if we can try and stem that oil leak a bit and see what the state of the screws are. Right, I've got the screws out, and the two in question are that one there and this one, and these two together with us are UNC 2 5/8, and there are the screws, and one is 2 5/8, one is 2.5, so it's a little short. So they're the correct length, and I put the old trusty thin screwdriver down the hole, and there's absolutely tons of room. It's almost I've got almost that sort of length in comparison of hole and presumably thread. So I don't think these are bottoming out. So next thing then is I found some Allen screws, UNC Allens, quarter UNC. So I'm just going to put those in and gently nip them up. It is UNC rather than UNF, so it's a good coarse thread, but yeah, as people have commented before on this channel when they've seen me doing a light impact driving on these, I said for God's sake be careful because it will strip. So yeah, we need to be careful, but I think the screws are right. Right, I've put a couple of Allen screws in the primary cover, nipped them up, so we'll see if that makes any difference. And thanks again, Howard. Right, first things first, plugs out. They're only finger tight anyway. Right, next thing is just a roller check. Okay, we've got roller check. Engine still in 4th gear. Okay, the engine's turning over fine. Right, I'm going to turn the ignition on now so we can check the spark. And actually when I turned the ignition on, the oil light was off and it's just come on. So that's good news. Can't see a spark. Oil light on. Right, I've got a spark on the right hand cylinder. I haven't got one on the left. Got a huge spark on the right. So, ignition off. Let's just check oil again. There you go, 10 seconds or so. The engine's hardly doing any revs because we're in 4th gear on these rollers. Might not be enough to start it actually. We're not registering anything on the tacho. Right, in 3rd gear. Just registered a bit on the RPM then. Good. Right. First things first, I'm just going to investigate why we haven't got a spark on the left-hand cylinder, and then I'll bring you back. Ignition off. Okay, I think I found the problem. So we're getting power to the points. If I short the points out the points, I get a good spark at the spark plug on the right hand side too. So I think we just need to clean the points, and the best thing to do that is a nail file, and it's not my wife's, it's mine. Alright, it was just the points, just needed cleaning up quite a bit actually. Checked the gap, that was alright, and after a lot more cleaning up of the faces and making sure the faces are parallel, then off we went. So we've got spark on both sides now. If we get any more trouble with it, I've got some new sets of points to install, but they look in good condition, to be honest. There's no pitting or anything like that. The faces are good, they've not been used very much at all. So we'll now fuel up, top up the oil, and then we'll run with the plugs out again just to get petrol through, and then we'll give it a go. I'm not confident these rollers are going to turn this engine over with the plugs in, but we'll give it a go anyway. Make sure the taps are off and tightened up. I've checked the settings on the carb, so I've got the air screws open by about 1 1/8 turns. Right, first quart in. Check for any tank leaks. None. Right, we'll use reserve tap. Might not be enough in there yet. Right, I'll give it another quart. I'm going to open up the other tap just to get the air out. Nothing coming through yet. Right, we'll give her another quart. No leaks anyway. This is Momentum petrol, so it's 99 octane. And actually, if you look in the handbook for this, it recommends 100 octane, which is the old 5-star. So I've done pretty well finding 99 anyway, that should be alright. I think I have got some octane booster somewhere on the shelf from the days when I used to own a Triumph Stag. Right, that's got 3/4 of a gallon in, should be plenty. Right, while that's running through, we'll get the plugs in. I was always taught finger tight the plugs and then 1/4 of a turn with a spanner. As those are new plugs. Cap on. See if we can go down. Alright, we've got fuel through on the right hand carb. Yeah, and the left. Bites off the centre of the rollers. That's half the trouble. She's moved. Just need to rearrange the rollers, so let me bring you back. Right, rollers repositioned properly, much firmer now. It appears to be turning over okay with the plugs in. We've primed it. I'm ready on the clutch, and we'll give it a go with ignition on to see if she fires. I don't think she's turning over. In fact, I'm sure she's not. Bear with me a sec. I think she was locked in a neutral. Right, we'll just turn her over with ignition off now. God. It's struggling. No joy. Right, just get it back into neutral. Okay, she's turning over now. Right, we'll go back to the old-fashioned ways. Clutch is fine. Kicking. Whew. That got the heart racing. Right, so the rollers couldn't turn the engine over because of the compression even in top gear. So that's why I had to revert to the good old-fashioned technique of kick-starting it. And obviously we'd primed it with the rollers anyway, petrol-wise. I just checked that the clutch was working in case we needed to use that to avoid any disasters. But other than that, almost, well, first kick, straight off. I haven't, all I've done is set the air screws on the carbs. We've not set the throttle stops or anything like that, so it was nice though that it was obviously running evenly on 2 cylinders. It was blowing a bit out the front somewhere, and you'll notice as well, the initial observations, left-hand pipe turning golden already. We'll be able to clean that up because we've caught it early enough, so that's probably timing. But the other observation is, yeah, we're still weeping more oil, so it's got worse rather than better. So that case is coming off at some point soon. But other than that, I'm pleased with that. Originally when we fitted the kickstart spring, I didn't think it was going to be strong enough and work, but once it got a bit of lube around it, that's fine. We've already checked all the other controls, etc. Clutch might need adjustments once we get it on the road, but what it does mean now is that we can get the rollers away, and she did appear to be getting hotter on the left hand side. That's probably, it must be timing. So we'll static time it again. We've got the petrol pipes to put in the correct position. Thank you, Howard, for that. But other than that, then well, couldn't be more pleased really with how that started up and how it ran really with no tweaking whatsoever. I just wanted it to run long enough to warm up a bit to see what we were playing with, and obviously it's made that oil leak worse rather than better. We can sort that though. But quiet. We're inside a garage, and I was pleased how quiet it was. Top end, no unusual knocks, oil pressure warning light well out. So we're there. So quick recap then. I acquired this machine on the 13th of April 2018, so it's almost exactly 2 years to the day that it's fired up again. I was just looking through the paperwork this morning, and it was sold by the previous American owner. It is imported. Sold by the previous American owner in 1979, and that sort of collates with the last equivalent US MOT sticker, which is that sticker there, which I've kept on it, which if you look closely is dated 7980, May 7980. So the American logbook that I have has his name on it. They're sold in 79, and then it was actually imported in 1990. I thought it was 1980, but it was imported in 1990. And so it's been 30 years in this country in a bit of a mess, and I'm pretty sure this hasn't run since it left the US, because I think it left the US in a bit of a state. So anyway, I'll do a video next of a walk around the bike once it's cooled down, once we've cleaned up that left hand pipe. I hate gold and stroke blued pipes like that, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. But that should clean up. And at some point I'll do a bit of a history and a summary, but I'll leave you in this video with a couple of before and after pics, and then a bit later on we'll do a bit more of the history following the intro that I did originally. So there we are, she runs. Pleased with that. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for interests, subscriptions, and certainly recently thanks for the comments. I'm still learning as I'm going along with these bikes, so your advice and critique, etc. is very welcome. Never take it personally. And if somebody does get a bit derogatory, then it doesn't bother me. That's up to them. But once again, thanks again. We're there. Bits to do yet, but obviously we'll keep on with this. And with the Fury over there once we get the head. And then for, let's see, it's still Sunday. It's 3 o'clock, middle afternoon. I'm probably going to give the Rocket 3 a bit of a fire up now, because that's probably sumped its oil, so we'll get prepping the other bites. But in the meantime, I can get rid of all this paraphernalia in the Heath Robinson Incorporated at the rear end. Thanks a lot again, everybody, and thanks for your support. Cheers, bye-bye.